Hi, and welcome back to Brief Recaps. The world ends on a Tuesday, but for Josh, a high school outcast with a liking for funny comebacks and a one-sided crush, the apocalypse isn't the end. It's just the beginning of the weirdest, wildest adventure of his life. Josh finds himself going through the post-apocalyptic landscape of Glendale High, where jocks have become tribal warriors, cheerleaders have turned into ruthless warlords. His mission is to survive the chaos, find his missing girlfriend, and maybe, just maybe, discover that high school is the truest training ground for the end of the world. In a schoolroom filled with students bored out of their minds, the principal tells them about some Japanese school activity as the teacher starts taking the class attendance. As she calls out Josh Wheeler's name, our charismatic protagonist breaks the fourth wall and faces the audience to tell his story about the nuclear fallout that happened and how it was actually the best thing that ever happened to him. He explains the bombs eliminated most adults, leaving only people who were under 18 alive. And even within these people, some turned into what he calls ghoulies. These ghoulies are just like regular zombies, however. They're different in that they can talk and keep repeating the last thing they were thinking. But despite these threats, Josh is having the time of his life. As Josh walks us through how to live in this new apocalyptic world, he picks up a new katana in a weapons shop and names it Sam. Later on, as he's walking through a street, we see a biker who's introduced as Baron Triumph, a person who hunts kids. Continuing his explanation, we learn that after the nuclear blast, California got divided into different regions based on people's friend groups who fight over territory. When he's done talking, he stumbles upon a church where he hears the panicked scream of a girl. When he goes to check out what happened, he finds a group of people, the golf club, trying to push the girl into a box. Josh recognizes who the girl is and speaks out her name, Sam. Just as the group of people are about to attack him, Josh convinces them to listen to his backstory. He talks about how when he moved in from Toronto, Sam showed him around school, and he fell in love with her. As the story comes to a close, the golf club tries to capture Josh, and he fights back. But as they're fighting, the girl in the box comes out, and Josh realizes it isn't Sam, but Angelica instead. Josh beats Terry, and the golf club surrenders, leading to Josh leaving the church with Angelica. Just outside the church, Josh encounters a man, Wesley Fists, posing as a samurai. He informs Josh that he knows about Sam's whereabouts and that she's in the mall controlled by Baron Triumph. While they're talking, the golf club emerges from the church to chase Josh, but he runs away with Angelica and Wesley, making the golf club use a signal to call Turbo for help. Elsewhere, we see Turbo execute someone for singing badly, killing them with a rocket, but as he's celebrating, he's interrupted by an underling who shows him the signal to hunt new recruits. Later, Josh and his group avoid the golf club and arrive at Josh's house where they're surprised by how well supplied he is. As they're talking, he starts reminiscing and decides to go to the mall where Sam is. However, they're interrupted as the golf club arrives outside Josh's house along with Turbo's group, the Jocks. Josh allies with Angelica and Wesley and fights off the enemy alliance, which leads to ghoulies being attracted to the commotion. A ghoulie ambushes and kills Terrence while the Jocks and the golf club run back to safety. Josh and the group split up as Josh tries to shake off the Jocks from his tail. Later, they meet again at the mall. Unfortunately, a rogue ghoulie approaches Wes and Angelica, prompting Angelica to fend them off with her flamethrower, while Wes attempts to break open the locks at the mall's entrance. Ultimately, Josh comes to the rescue, but not without the unexpected arrival of Baron Triumph, who reveals himself to the group. Josh, our main guy, breaks the fourth wall and talks directly to us about his flashback in the mall. We discover that Baron Triumph is actually Eli, a guy from school. The thing is, he's a fraud, and his motorcycle even has training wheels. Although he controls the mall, he's not the real Baron. When the genuine Baron shows up, Eli lets him in and captures Josh and Angelica in a cage. Despite their pleas, Wesley refuses to attack Eli and instead decides to talk him around. Between flashbacks to the mall, Josh takes charge and heads into the mall's recesses to track down the ghoulie witch after Eli agrees to release them. With Angelica's help, they capture the witch, who turns out to be Ms. Crumble. Meanwhile, Wesley and Eli talk, revealing that Eli is not really a samurai or on a path of enlightenment after a school incident. Despite Eli's attempts to provoke him, Wesley remains calm and refuses to fight back. Outside, Turbo gathers the tribes, who offer gifts. The nerds try to overthrow Turbo by shooting him, but it's revealed to be a decoy, and Jerry, one of the golfers, is on the throne. The real Turbo arrives, and the geeks face punishment. Back in the mall, Josh reminisces about the past while Ms. Crumble succumbs to her part ghoul persona. She enlists Josh's help to get the keys needed to escape. After retrieving the keys from her stomach, Josh tries to leave but is attacked by the ghoul from earlier as soon as he opens the door. Upstairs, Eli and Wes prepare for the arrival of Baron Triumph. but after some convincing, they decide to band together and fight him off as they're faced with the real triumph. Ms. Crumble jumps out of nowhere and attacks him, which scares him away. As the group thinks about whether they can trust Ms. Crumble in the aftermath of this, Eli is caught out by Wes, who shuts the shutters down between them. However, as Wes heads off, Eli tells him he knows his secret and why Wes is a pacifist. In the bathroom, Josh talks to himself about the apocalypse. We learn he was bitten by the ghoulie from earlier. As we cut back and see him beaten up by Hoyle in the present, he tries to cut his arm off to avoid turning into a ghoul. A surprising twist reveals that the bites don't turn you into one of ghoulie. Unfortunately, Josh discovers this too late, one finger short. As Angelica walks around the mall, she talks to the camera without breaking the fourth wall. She talks about the tail while Josh takes a nap after losing his finger. With Josh needing antibiotics urgently, Angelica asks Eli if he has any on his side of the mall. After some back and forth, he admits he doesn't. Angelica continues her search. An incident involving Josh's arm and Ms. Crumble prompts Angelica to drive off with Wes to Victor's pharmacy. There, they look for drugs but find out they're not alone. Back at the mall, Ms. Crumble struggles to control herself, using maggots to eat away at Josh's flesh while he's tied up, delighting in his pain until he passes out. Back at the pharmacy, Wes and Angelica are saved by an unknown accomplice who stops the ghoulies who pile up by the window. On the way out, Wes steals the lotion as agreed with Eli, his way of keeping him quiet about his dark secret before it's revealed that the ones who saved them were the cheerleaders. It turns out they're out for revenge against all of men for inequality. They invite Angelica to join the Cheermazons, but after some thinking, she decides against it and joins Wes as they head back to Josh with the antibiotics. Back at the mall, Ms. Crumble talks to the now conscious Josh. The maggots prevented the infection from spreading, but the antibiotics did most of the work. However, Josh's mood drops when Wes and Angelica reveal Sam's body in the trunk. It's a ruse to keep Josh at the mall, as it's not the real Sam. As Wes shows off his skills by cutting through random objects, he encourages Josh to become a samurai and promises to take down Turbo and Hoyle. Principal Burr narrates about Hoyle's school troubles, bringing us back to the mall where Angelica checks on Baron Triumph and Josh and Wes head out. Spies at the mall inform Turbo, who rallies his troops. Wes leads Josh away from Baron Triumph and Turbo, but it backfires. The golfers corner them, and Turbo rushes in. Baron Triumph kills a golfer, and the kids try to escape but end up in the Goblin Flakes factory. Josh fails to break all the locks, and Wes remains chained. He teams up with non-English-speaking workers but can't make progress. Finding Hoyle tied up, Wes discovers it's actually Principal Burr as Baron Triumph. In a flashback, we learn it was a plan to get rid of Hoyle from school, involving false charges of inappropriate behavior. Despite this revelation, Josh chooses not to kill the principal, instead freeing prisoners and trapping him in the factory. As we jump back in time, we see that all of this was an elaborate play as the principal needed a plan to get rid of Hoyle from school. That plan happened to involve arresting him for sleeping with an underage girl. Incredulous, the principal's secret is finally revealed as Josh laments the principal's plan and holds him up at sword point. Despite the pleas from everyone around him, Josh decides against killing him outright and instead snatches his keys and frees the prisoners before trapping him in the factory. Back at the mall, Ms. Crumble and Angelica both have makeovers. Despite some initial hostilities, they're invigorated as Josh brings the exchange students home. As the episode closes out, it's revealed that Wes and Turbo happen to be in a relationship together, which is what Wesley's big secret was all along, while something happens to be stirring in Principal Burr's body. With Wes's secret out and plenty of drama, the series reaches its midpoint with a switch in the main antagonist to Principal Burr as the Baron. While some plot twists seem more for shock than consistency, Daybreak continues to provide engaging drama. While sitting and swinging their legs, Wes and Josh discuss the homecoming dance and what to do with the rescued prisoners. Meanwhile, flashbacks show Wes and Turbo being intimate, but Turbo insists on killing Josh, giving Wes an ultimatum. Later, Eli and Wes waste some time over the secret, leading Wes to consider leaving Eli outside as ghoulie food. Unable to do it, he lets Eli back in, who decides to spill the secrets to Josh. This secret romance between Turbo and Wes creates tension, and Mona advises Turbo on the consequences of making peace with Josh. This secret romance between Turbo and Wes threatens to overthrow everything built so far too, as Turbo is given some words of wisdom by Mona over what will happen if he makes peace with Josh. She slaps him across the face as the first signs of weakness seep across in a smile, allowing her to take charge of the situation. Eli and Wes eventually formulate a plan together to kill Josh with a venomous tiara at the homecoming dance. However, at the dance itself, Angelica struggles with her feelings for Josh while Turbo's dance party is a disaster. Mona forces the golfers to dance together, and as they pledge their allegiance to one another, Turbo loses his temper and smashes the speaker. As everything reaches its peak, Wes spills his heart out to Josh only for Wes to suddenly be announced as the homecoming king. This means the poisoned crown is his. Realizing he's not a samurai after all, he sits down and prepares for the end as the crown hovers over his head. However, before he can go through with his sacrificial death, he punches the crown to the ground and tells everyone what's really going on. Together, they make a plan to set up decoys while everyone hides. When Turbo arrives and hits up the place, he and his minions end up surrounded as the two groups prepare to fight to the death. In the aftermath of the mall brawl, the kids, including Josh, pitch in to clean up the mess. During the cleanup, KJ, who surprisingly turns out to be an English speaker, approaches Josh with a bold proposition. They need to take down Turbo. The duo, armed with skateboards, sets out on a mission. KJ unveils her plan, which involves recruiting Arya Killigan and other gamers who have been silently battling online. Meanwhile, Turbo, adopting a harsh stance, assumes everyone is guilty until proven innocent. He locks up his own followers in a massive cage, delivering Order S from his throne. Angelica and Ms. Crumble, however, venture off to the cereal factory, confronting none other than Principal Burr. Chaos ensues, with Angelica navigating the factory's teenage-related problems, while Turbo intensifies his quest to identify trustworthy allies. Owen takes responsibility for the mission failure at the mall. As things unfold, Killigan's mission takes an unexpected turn. Captured by Turbo, she gets a punishment in the form of educational videos. During her capture, she exposes the username 55318008, and she seemingly points fingers at Gary as the traitor. The group is mad at Gary for his alleged betrayal. However, it turns out to be a trick. It is Turbo's way of venting and claiming a cheap victory. As he breaks down the Lego game from earlier, KJ and Josh's bond deepens, which ends in a surprising kiss. Later on, Josh reflects on Turbo's defeat by rewatching the video, only to notice a startling revelation. It is Sam, who he believed was lost, is alive. Sam and Ms. Crumble are in class as canned laughter sounds, and were greeted with a post-apocalyptic sitcom. After freeing her from the crazed shackles of her mind, Ms. Crumble snaps back to reality and asks for Angelica's help. Miraculously, Sam is discovered alive, but Eli and Wes face consequences for deceiving Josh. Angelica bravely confronts Josh, confessing the truth. In response, Josh decides to exile all three from the mall. As the ousted trio embarks on separate paths, Barry, the lone survivor of the golf team, faces his woes. Mona intervenes, urging him to step up his game and drop a bombshell that Gary was framed by Turbo, and Mona might go by the name Mary. Determined to locate Angelica, Josh guides Ms. Crumble on a journey into the wilderness. The narrative takes a comical turn with another sitcom segment. Ms. Crumble encounters the Cheermazons, a peculiar group, and showcases her wit by cracking their code. She bargains her way through with an assortment of random items, finally reaching the treasure sought after. Just in time for orientation, she enters the fray. The orientation involves 3 challenging tasks, with Angelica and Ms. Crumble facing them together. During the trials, Ms. Crumble pleads with Angelica to stick by her side for the sake of sanity. However, during a revealing moment in the second trial, she unveils her true nature, shocking the other girls. Curiosity piques as they demand answers about who or what Ms. Crumble truly is. Simultaneously, Mona engages in a strategic discussion with Sam at Turbo's headquarters, plotting an unlawful seizure against his rule. This collaboration leads them to Principal Burr, offering him a deal for stability and leadership. Meanwhile, Josh realizes his mistakes through a heartfelt conversation with Eli's girlfriend Mavis. We shift back to Angelica, who successfully navigates the honesty gauntlet. As Angelica officially joins the Cheermazons, Ms. Crumble and her harmonize in a spirited song. The musical montage transitions back to Josh, who unveils a personal revelation. He had broken up with Sam in the past. We focus on Sam as she strolls through the halls of her school in the past. During this journey, her connection with Josh deepens, but a pivotal moment arises when he hesitates about taking their relationship to a more intimate level. Despite an awkward encounter in bed, the situation takes an unexpected turn when Josh accidentally headbutts Sam in the face. As Sam tends to her nose with an ice pack, they engage in a conversation about the incident. The atmosphere lightens, but a curious question from Josh about her past experiences incites offense in Sam. Fueled by indignation, she storms out of the house, inadvertently stumbling into Josh's mom's bedroom in a comical twist. The unexpected encounter diffuses some of the tension as Sam regains her confidence, opting to freshen up in the bathroom with a touch of makeup. Resuming their interaction, Sam and Josh share a moment of intimacy on the sofa, interrupted only by the arrival of a delivery man with their Asian cuisine. The smeared lipstick on both their faces adds a humorous touch to the scene, causing the hasty departure of the bemused delivery man. The duo continues their evening with a swim, where Josh expresses his love for Sam. This prompts a discussion about online videos before the conversation shifts to the symbolic sunflowers, creating a poignant moment. Subsequently, they find themselves back in bed, the awkwardness of earlier encounters replaced by a more natural connection. Throughout the episode, Josh grapples with unanswered calls from his mother, a recurring theme. However, Sam's playful banter leads him to answer one call, resulting in an unexpected revelation. Josh abruptly gets dressed and heads outside, unveiling the heartbreaking news of his father's demise. Grief-stricken, he directs his pain at Sam, insisting that she attend homecoming alone. Josh blames himself for seeking intimacy during his father's terminal moments and cruelly highlights the perceived perfection of Sam's life. As Sam, holding back tears, proceeds to homecoming alone, Josh succumbs to self-pity, marking a somber conclusion to the episode. Once again, the backdrop of California love welcomes us as the post-apocalyptic world unfolds its next chapter. Principal Burr, the once maniacal ruler, addresses the empty landscape through the loudspeakers. This triggers Turbo, who is fueled by a thirst for power, to storm into the office with an intent to put an end to Principal Burr. A mighty clash commences, an axe meets resistance, and Principal Burr emerges as the winner, overthrowing Turbo's reign. As Turbo lies defeated, Mona asserts his downfall, and Principal Burr takes control of the jocks and the ragtag students under his command. During this chaos, we go back to Josh, which sets the stage for the much-awaited epic conclusion. He speaks to Eli about the exiled group while Wesley himself snatches Turbo up from the trash whence he's thrown and saves him from his fate. After a clean shave and brightening up the school, Principal Burr returns to school duties as the kids clean his office and the ensuing school grounds. Principal Burr resumes his responsibilities, guiding the students through the process. Meanwhile, in a classroom meeting, Sam receives a summon from Principal Burr, making people discuss about the next steps for the school's future. At the mall, the group contemplates a name for themselves, leading to KJ's suggestion of the Daybreakers. With the same decision, Josh wants to wear Eli's victory costume for the upcoming adventure. However, Eli's reluctance, coupled with a flashback segment, unveils a new plan. Josh, armed with a spray-painted tag symbolizing a sunrise, wears a sunflower bracelet, signaling the beginning of the real epic conclusion. Eli, persuaded by his cards, joins the quest as Baron Triumph. Simultaneously at Josh's apartment, Wes, Angelica, and Miss Crumble tend to Turbo's wounds. Amid healing, Wes warns Turbo of an upcoming fight to the death. Unfortunately, Josh's plan takes a turn for the worst as Hoyle jumps on Eli while in disguise. However, as he realizes it's Eli and hurries off, he's attacked by a rabid feral dog and dies. With Eli's demise, Josh mourns his friend, and the grand plan hits an unforeseen roadblock. Back at the school, Principal Burr disregards the students, leaving Sam to witness a shocking revelation. Barry, who was presumed missing, has become the secret ingredient in Principal Burr's smoothies. The truth surfaces as Josh, who is dressed as a victor, arrives at the school, revealing his identity to Sam. Unfortunately, an explosion outside causes both of them to fly across the room. We jump back 36 minutes to find Principal Burr taking the students out on a field trip where they begin playing golf. Commenting that a golf team would be handy right now, Principal Burr watches as the kids eventually blow up a missile after several minutes of trying. With Angelica knocked out, Principal Burr picks her up as we move back to Sam and Josh, who look one another down and hug during the carnage outside. Neither of them can hear though, thanks to the blast outside. But as they mime to one another, we go back to Angelica, who's forced to blow up another nuke as Miss Crumble is held up and tortured. Back at the mall, Sam and Josh write on the wall and decide on different methods to take against Principal Burr. However, Sam quickly gets offended when she realizes that Josh and KJ have hooked up together in her absence. While Josh pleads with Sam to forgive him given his supposed dishonesty on the matter, Wes and Turbo prepare for their insane battle. As the countdown timer ends, Turbo tells him he loves him before they both fire at each other. However, it turns out they were confetti guns all along, and these explosions bring back everyone's hearing as we return to the final fight at hand. Angelica continues to be forced to work on the nuke, while the rest of the kids at the mall turn to ask Josh what to do next. As KJ arrives and joins them, they all turn to Josh as the leader of their group. After some deliberation, he decides to use music to his advantage and calls on the band to work together and compose a symphony. It's a cacophonous mess, but enough to get Burr's attention as they arrive and confront him and his group. Although they manage to divert the jocks' attention, Angelica tells them the bad news, that the nuke is armed. It turns out the original nuke that decimated America was launched by a combined force of Russia and China, but while Angelica and the others scramble to disarm it, the rest of the group fight various skirmishes around the grounds. Sam and Burr go toe-to-toe while the jocks continue to fight outside. Just as Sam looks set to meet her end, Josh stabs Principal Burr in the chest. Of course, he doesn't die, but it turns out he's the one who had a nut allergy this whole time. The sword Josh stabbed him with is covered in peanut butter, which causes Principal Burr to fall down and a hand to burst from his stomach. However, Josh swipes it off and stops the threat once and for all, as they head outside and tell the kids they need to work together to disarm the nuke. Ms. Crumble is the only one who can do this, it seems, and as it turns out, she needs to stay behind to do that manually. Sadly, she seems to die in the upcoming blast as the rocket shoots into the air and explodes in a flurry of dust and fire. However, it turns out she's still alive, making Angelica very happy. Riding on a wave of good faith, Josh heads off to speak to Sam, but it turns out she's not interested in getting together and takes the throne for herself. Everyone bows to her rule as she tells them the apocalypse is the best thing to happen to her, not Josh. As our main characters see what is unraveling, the series ends. So that will be it from us. If you enjoyed the video, then leave us a like and subscribe to our channel for more film recap videos like this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you at the next one.